Officials Friday announcing a slew of charges leveled against the suspect, 37-year-old Crissetti Brand, paroled from Stateville Prison just one day before prosecutors said he forced his way into the victim's Edgewater apartment.
When I think about some of the things that have happened, I ask the question, where's the outrage? There are a lot of things that people have shown outrage for in this city, but an 11-year-old boy lost his life brutally.
Authorities of threats, yet Brandt was still granted parole.
Was just paroled from prison the day before he his family.
Weeks before the attack, the boy's mother filed this order of protection citing new threats, writing in February, he came to my house trying to break into my apartment, and in January, he sent me several text messages saying he would kill me and my family, but a Cook County judge denied the request.
Alright, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video, but before I jump into the video, I gotta start it off with some positivity. I want to tell each and every one of my supporters out there that's rocking with me and supporting everything that I got going on. I want to tell y'all thank y'all, and I do appreciate each and every one of y'all for the support, and I hope that everything can go y'all way today during y'all day. I'm wishing nothing but the best upon y'all. That's all I'm really saying, man. You know, I'm sending y'all nothing but peace, blessings, and prosperous energy y'all way also. But that's enough of all of that. I just have to give my supporters some love. Let's get straight into the situation at hand. So basically, long story short, it's a crazy ass dude. I mean, a crazy ass dude. But let me say this too, before anything, RIP to this young man, Jaden Perkins. He was 11 years old, and for me seeing him, man, it's just so sad that he got his life taken, man. You know, he was nothing but a bundle of joy. He was very happy, go lucky, you know. I seen some dancing videos he was doing and things like that. Just a good spirited person, a pure-hearted kid in my personal opinion. Now, this guy by the name of Crissetti Brand, he's 37 years old. Now, this fucker got a crazy long backstory about himself. Now, he actually got 16 years in jail for a home invasion, right? And ultimately, you know, he got out of jail on parole. And when he got out of jail on parole, he started bothering this young lady, you know, Jaden's mother. She's a 33-year-old pregnant woman. She was 4 months pregnant. Well, she is 4 months pregnant because she survived. But she was pregnant, and he ultimately ended up getting out of jail. You know, he was her ex, and he started texting her and basically harassing her about the situation at hand. Now, I don't know exactly all of the details right now because everything isn't really just clear yet, but I do got a press conference video also in this video that probably can give us more information on the whole situation. But from my knowledge, it's not enough out there to actually say why, you know, he was really mad. But, you know, it's probably the obvious. She was probably pregnant by somebody else. She probably was in a relationship with somebody else, talking to somebody else. Just something that had something to do with jealousy, in my personal opinion. Now, he goes to text her and bothering her and things like that. He ended up going back to jail for doing these type of things. And he ended up getting back out of jail. She did everything that she was supposed to do. That's why we always say, man, putting a restraining order on someone or trying to tell the police in certain situations really don't help because they can't do enough in certain situations. I feel like they should change some laws and stuff like that to be able to go ahead and do certain things, you know, because I mean, people literally be telling people what they're gonna do to them, and they'll tell the police and they can't do nothing about it, or they don't do nothing about it. And I feel like that ain't what's up at all. We got too much money and resources to let it go to the wayside. Like, this child should still be here, in my personal opinion. He's actually been back in jail. But the crazy thing about this situation is he ended up taking her life right after he was released out of jail. Ain't that some crazy ass shit? Like, the day after. Like, that's crazy, bro. You got that much hate, envy, and jealousy inside of you to the point where you did what you did. So he ultimately ended up trying to take the mother's life by stabbing her and stuff like that. The son tried to step in and help, and he took his life for that. Now, I did see that his father is still alive and stuff like that. His name is Chris, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please put that in the comment section. But I did see people saying that they were sorry about his loss and stuff like that. And I just want to send my condolences to you and to the mother and everybody who was associated with this situation. They had a genuine love for Jaden. But, you know, for something like this to happen, man, is very sad and heartbreaking, man, because these kids be pure as hell, man. And they don't be, you know, they don't be deserving these type of things. I feel like that these people shouldn't even have to have the opportunity, the blessing to even get a trial or anything like this. With you knowing what he did, his ass should be eliminated instantly. That's just my personal opinion on the whole situation. Now, I have gave y'all a brief synopsis over the whole thing. This is going to be a very lengthy video, you know, but y'all know me, I like dropping the longer videos versus the shorter videos. But yeah, man, we finna get some details about this. Some things I haven't even seen myself, so you know, I might be new to certain things, but for the most part, I do have most of the information on this situation, and the details are very. Yeah, you know, I just hate this for him. And, you know, like I said, I had videos of him dancing and just being a good kid, bro. And it ain't what's up at all for him to actually lose his life like that, man. At all. At all. He was texting her, letting her know what he was going to do to her. And to read those type of things and it actually happen to your mother, being a child and seeing these things happen and have something like this done to you just ain't what's up in my personal opinion, man. I really hate that for him. It's sickening, man, for real. But let's get into the video. I done say what I had to say. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and we're going to talk about this. Let's go.
Charges tonight against a man accused of an 11-year-old boy and his pregnant mother.
We're learning more about the suspect's past as family gathered tonight in Edgewater to pay their respects to the boy. WGN's Courtney Spinelli joins us live from Edgewater with the details. Courtney.
Yeah, good evening to you both. Family and friends, including the father of 11-year-old Lled Perkins, gathered here tonight for an emotional vigil and balloon release. They say they're just too emotional to go on camera right now, but they tell us they are going to miss Lled more than words can ever express. A memorial provides a reminder of the impact Lled Perkins had on his family and community. The 11-year-old who allegedly trying to protect his mother, remembered by his peers for his kindness and the joy he brought everyone.
This is something that should have never happened.
Officials Friday announcing a slew of charges leveled against the suspect, 37-year-old Lled Brandt, paroled from Stateville prison just one day before prosecutors said he forced his way into the victim's Edgewater apartment.
This pushed victim one back and the defendant began her.
During the attack, Lled, an ex-boyfriend of the victim from more than 15 years ago, allegedly stabbed the woman in the side, back, chest, and neck. Lled was stabbed in his upper chest. An injury to his carotid artery ended up claiming his life.
Investigations like this are never easy, especially when they involve children.
The suspect was sentenced to 3 years in prison in a 2008 case for violating an order of protection involving the same victim, in this case 3 times. In 2015, a judge ordered him sentenced to 16 years in prison for a home invasion and domestic battery involving a different victim. He was released on mandatory supervised release in October 2023.
At that time, he received a memorandum reminding him of the order of protection regarding victim one.
But prosecutors say that didn't stop him from contacting her in late January by text and going to her apartment in early February, which landed him back in prison. On February 21st, the victim filed a request for an emergency order of protection where she wrote, Lled, quote, sent me several text messages saying he would kill me and my family. He would wait outside my house and a judge did not grant the emergency order, instead continuing the case until March 13th for a hearing, the same day of the attack also witnessed by Jaden's younger brother.
When I think about some of the things that have happened, I ask the question, where's the outrage?
Police Superintendent Larry Snelling saying he doesn't believe the suspect should have been out in the first place. State's Attorney Kim Fox addressing the concerns raised Friday.
As you heard the superintendent say, that there are questions, and there are questions that need to be examined and truthfully answered so that we can prevent something like this from happening in the future.
Now, Lled was ordered detained today, and he is scheduled to face a judge early next month. He was hit with 9 felony charges, including 1 count of first-degree and 1 count of first-degree attempted. Now, in this case, it does appear that this victim took every step she could to try and reach out and get the help that she needed. But for anyone else who does need it, the National Domestic Hotline is on your screen. You can call there and they can help you get connected to resources and begin making a safety plan. For now, reporting in Edgewater, Courtney Spinelli, WGN News.
Questions tonight after a 37-year-old with a lengthy criminal record is charged in that Edgewater attack that year-old Lled Perkins and injured his pregnant mother.
Prosecutors say the suspect was caught on surveillance video tossing a knife and his ex-girlfriend's phone. NBC5's Randy Gyllenhaal takes a closer look at a community in mourning as they try to understand how this person was ever allowed to be paroled.
In Edgewater, balloons and messages in chalk for 11-year-old Lled Perkins, a bright star who loved dance and music. while protecting his family from a man just let out of prison.
Let me start by saying this is something that should have never happened.
Chicago police and the state's attorney announcing murder charges against Chrisetti Brandt, the ex-boyfriend of Jaden's mother.
I don't have a good answer for that.
But unable to answer why he was just granted parole despite repeated threats against the family.
Questions that need to be examined and truthfully answered.
This is someone who should not have been on the street.
Court records show a long history of domestic violence targeting the boy's mother. She repeatedly filed orders of protection and notified authorities of threats, yet Brandt was still granted parole.
Was just paroled from prison the day before he brutally attacked his family.
Weeks before the attack, the boy's mother filed this order of protection citing new threats, writing in February, he came to my house trying to break into my apartment, and in January, he sent me several text messages saying he would in my family, but a Cook County judge denied the request.
NBC5's Randy.
With them denying this request, they should be sued, in my personal opinion. Like, what are we paying y'all for? And it's crazy that they don't let the people really have a lot of judgment in certain situations, like the people that's actually keeping y'all in business, you feel me? And I know some people gonna say, yeah, if you go vote and this and this and that, man, ultimately, yeah, some of that voting and shit helps, but for the most, I'm talking about for the person who actually gonna run and do certain things and stuff like that. But you know, ultimately, we don't really have a say-so in certain things. I feel like that if it was a group of people, it would have been a unanimous decision to go ahead and prosecute this man for his threats. With him being a convicted felon, whatever the case may be, with his background, his lengthy history and shit like that, he should have been granted ultimately, like instantly as well. They should have took his ass right back to jail. So with her actually doing the proper steps and shit like that and actually having to lose a child, I would sue their ass. I mean, I definitely would, because a lot of the times, man, you know, you can take the right steps, and then once you take these right steps, nothing happens. So yeah, you gotta take matters into your own hand, but only after you make the right decisions. But you know, most of the time, with the world being this crazy, you gotta go ahead and make an action real quick when it comes to things like this. You know, I hate that for her, man. And then her child was nervous as well, probably. You know, he probably knew what was happening. He probably knew what was going on. Probably was there when he was trying to break into the house. He was traumatized before actually losing his life. She should get emotional damages and, you know, all type of different shit to make up for this right here, you know, and nothing is going to make up for it. I'm just saying something to kind of pacify the situation, but overall, ultimately, she lost the baby. She lost, you know, the person that she really loved, and it's something that she got to deal with for the rest of her life because she chose to mess with someone not knowing what she was getting herself into. I know some people going to try to blame her and say this and say that, but I don't want to victim shame nobody, man. She lost a child. That's enough right there. She got enough to deal with, you feel me? But yeah, it's just sad that you can't never get the help that you need once you are being a law-abiding citizen and a taxpayer and everything, bro. It's just crazy. Like I said before, I feel like that when it's cases like this or certain situations that are happening and shit like that, I feel like they should get a large collective of people and let them make decisions on certain things as well. Not just y'all be ahead of certain things. Make it a group effort. Put all us together. Get 50, 60 people, 50 to 100 people, and you know, come up with decisions as well, not just y'all, because I'm pretty sure if it was enough logical women or men involved in this right here, this wouldn't have happened at all. His ass would have been right back in jail. Let's get back into it, especially with him coming to her house. Like, come on now, let's go though.
All reporting domestic violence encourage people to file protection orders, but they also say police and the courts need to do more to protect victims.
Facts.
NBC5 has reached out to the Illinois Prisoner Review Board, which makes those parole decisions. They have not responded to our request for comment.
I bet they haven't. Why wouldn't y'all be making the best effort that y'all can? Shit crazy. This right here is the press conference about the situation.
Good morning. Superintendent Larry Snelling. This morning, we're here to address a tragic incident that took the life of an 11-year-old child and a mother who was attacked in an incident that should have never happened.
Facts.
Before I get into some of the details of what occurred, I'd like to introduce some of the members who are standing here with me today. I'd like to introduce Chief of Detectives Antoinette Ursitti, Deputy Chief of Detectives Kevin Bruno, Area 3 Detective Commander Rodney Hill, the 20th District Commander Jimmy Baird. We have Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox, who is standing here with us. I'd like to thank her for her presence. And 40th Ward Alderman Andre Vasquez, and thank you for being here. And thank you for standing with us on this day where we have to report out something tragic. We're here to announce first-degree charges against the offender who fatally stabbed an 11-year-old boy and critically injured the boy's 33-year-old mother.
Stupid fucker. Dumbass.
Let me start by saying this is something that should have never happened.
Facts.
This offender, who I will not dignify by naming, was just paroled from prison the day before he brutally attacked his family. He's a convicted felon with multiple felonies in his background. He was out on parole while still serving a 16-year sentence for home invasion where he caused injury. This was the second time being released on parole. When he was first released on parole, he violated the order of protection against him and was taken back into custody by the Department of Corrections. He has 3 orders of protection violations against him. Again, this is something that should not have happened. The day after he was released, he entered the home of the family and took the life of an innocent 11-year-old boy.
Man.
The boy's mother was multiple times, and she had an order of protection against this offender. Her 5-year-old son was also present and witnessed this attack. We have to imagine what that 5-year-old is going to have to deal with the rest of his life after witnessing something so brutal. When we talk about trauma, just imagine the level of trauma that this 5-year-old is suffering through. This mom's life is now forever changed. Along with being attacked multiple times, dealing with that trauma, she has to face the fact that she will never see, touch, hug her 11-year-old son. She's lost him forever. We will continue to show support for this family, because as a department, we want to make sure that we reach out. Our officers who arrive on the scene witness this level of brutality, so we have a clear understanding of what it looks like and what these families and victims are going through. And I've said it before, I'll say it a million times again. We have to continue to support our victims. We have to have a focus on the victims.
I like him.
When I think about some of the things that have happened, I ask the question, where's the outrage? There are a lot of things that people have shown outrage for in this city, but an 11-year-old boy lost his life brutally. A woman stabbed brutally in a domestic attack. Where is the outrage for this family? Let's focus on the victims. First thing I'd like to do is thank Area 3 for the hard work and quick action that they took in getting charges approved for this offender. I'd like to thank every member of the Chicago Police Department who were a part of working to quickly apprehend this offender so that he could not offend again. I cannot say enough about how hard our department members, our police officers, our detectives are working to bring a level of justice, if we can call it that, to families who have been victims of brutal attacks. And I'd like to say thank you to each and every member of the department who was involved in this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this over to Chief Ursitti, who is going to give you some details about what occurred. From that point, you'll get to hear from State's Attorney Fox and Alderman Vasquez. So, Chief.
Good afternoon, Antoinette City Chief, Bureau of Detectives. I want to reiterate what Superintendent Snelling just said. It is important right now that we focus on supporting the survivors of this attack and all those affected by this tragedy. Our deepest condolences.
Now look, I gotta say this right here, man. I love what they are saying. I just hate the fact that it takes so many different things to happen and occur consistently for things to start to get done. This should be the type of shit that gets handled instantly. You know what I'm saying? Saying you'll do more for victims and actually doing it is so simple to get from A to B. Okay, we're saying this today. Tomorrow we're gonna put this in 100% action, like right now. You feel me? They can say this over and over and over and over and over, but it really starts with the change, you know. And I know I'm not knocking them personally. I'm just talking about the system as a whole, not just these two people, because I love the way that they're articulating this, because I really haven't heard too many people say the certain things that he's saying or have said just then, you know. But I just gotta say that right there. I hate that people gotta lose their life. I hate you need so many different examples to actually start taking shit a little bit more seriously, you know. Like, damn. And then she was basically begging for her safety to the people that we pay to, you feel me? Man, it's crazy, but we paying these people to help us, and they'll tell us nah, or they'll move slow. I feel like shit, without the people's help or money, this shit wouldn't even be able to be anything, you feel me? But it's just a 360 deal we in with the government basically here, you know, and I really don't like that. Let's get back into it. I just had to say that.
Are with them. The 37-year-old male offender has been charged with 1 felony count of first-degree murder, 1 felony count of attempted first-degree murder, 3 felony counts of home invasion with a dangerous weapon, 1 felony count of armed robbery with a weapon, 1 felony count of aggravated domestic battery, 1 felony count of unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, 1 felony count of violation of an order, prior violation of order of protection, and 1 issuance of a warrant for parole violation. Investigations like this are never easy, especially when they involve children. Immediately upon learning of this incident, Area 3 detectives responded and began collecting evidence and witness statements. During the investigation, detectives learned the 33-year-old female victim was in a prior relationship with this offender more than 15 years ago. This offender has a history of domestic abuse, and as the superintendent mentioned, is a convicted felon who has had previous order of protection violation convictions. The offender was serving a 16-year sentence for home invasion and aggravated assault when he was paroled and placed on electronic monitoring this past October. While he was on parole, he threatened the female victim via text and also showed up at her home. He was sent back to prison in February for this parole violation. The offender was released on parole on March 12th. The day after he was released, he returned to the victim's home where he attacked her and fatally killed her 11-year-old son. Her 5-year-old son was also inside the residence, but was not injured. Video evidence shows the offender running from the scene with the knife used in the incident, which was later recovered, as well as other belongings. Several individuals were able to provide important information that led to the identification of this offender, who was taken into custody hours after the stabbing. I want to acknowledge the Area 3 detectives who spent the past 2 days investigating and securing charges in this case. I also want to thank every officer who responded to the scene and everyone who assisted in this case. This was a coordinated effort that included detectives, 20th District personnel, the Area 3 Area Technology Center, evidence technicians, the Area 3 Homicide Investigative Support Team, and the U.S. Marshals Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Task Force. Together, these men and women brought swift closure to a crime of violence against a mother and her son. I'd now like to introduce Cook County State's Attorney, Kim Fox. Good morning. Thank you for joining us here today. I stand here with Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling, Chief of Detectives Antoinette Ursitti, and Alderman Andre Vasquez, united in our sorrow and our resolve following a tragic event that has deeply affected our community. As you have heard, we are here to announce the charges filed in this heartbreaking case involving the murder of an 11-year-old boy and the attempted murder of his mother, a crime that has shocked our city to its core. The charges, if you've already heard, are first-degree murder and home invasion. The defendant will appear in first appearance court at 11:30 this morning. The State's Attorney's Office has filed a motion to detain. We believe that he is a threat, as obviously indicated by the horrific nature of this crime, as well as his actions post-parole. This was not just a...
You know what else is so crazy about the situation? He probably is relieved. He probably did what he wanted to do. He probably don't give a damn what happens to him right now. That's why I feel like he shouldn't even have the opportunity or the choice or anything else from now on, you know? If you can deny someone some help at one point in time, you definitely can deny a motherfucker who done did some crimes and stuff like that, any type of privileges at all, you know? I just hate this shit, man. It's just crazy that he can still have the opportunity to fight this case. I just don't get that, bro. I don't get it. It's just crazy to me. But like I said, he did what he wanted to do. This was probably his lifelong mission. He probably happy as hell now. You know what I'm saying? That he done did this. He made sure that he left her with some pain for the rest of her life. So he probably don't give a damn about nothing else. But yeah, let's get back into it. I just had to say that right there because some people be feeling like it's some type of justice in these situations sometimes when people get life and shit. But ultimately, it really don't be, because sometimes they are okay with the sentences and things like that they receive because they did something that they really truly wanted to do with inside of them, you know? Let's get back into it.
Just an attack on an 11-year-old boy and his mother. It was an assault on the very fabric of our community, targeting the most vulnerable among us. An innocent child's life was taken as he tried to protect his mother far too soon. And a mother was attacked in what should have been the safest place for her, which was her home. As the superintendent has mentioned, this defendant has a history of domestic violence and had only been recently released from serving a sentence from a prior conviction. The victim had an order of protection against him from previous encounters, and this history paints a disturbing pattern of behavior which emphasizes the importance of the filing of the charges today. I want to express my deepest condolences to the family and the friends of the victim. The unimaginable pain of losing a child, combined with the trauma of this act, is destabilizing. We stand with you in your grief and your quest for justice. I also want to thank, once again, Superintendent Snelling, Chief Ursitti, Alderman Vasquez, the Chicago Police Department, and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for their collaboration and leadership in getting us to this moment. Their unwavering support and dedication have been crucial. Together, we stand in our commitment to serve and protect our communities. I also want to extend a heartfelt thanks to our dedicated team of prosecutors, investigators, and staff whose tireless efforts have brought us to this point. I want to commend Kim Ward, Jennifer Dillman, and Erica Barnes of our Felony Review Unit for working collaboratively with our partners in law enforcement to bring us to this day. Your commitment to justice in the face of such tragedy is a testament to the strength and the integrity of the good people of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Our office is committed to vigorously prosecuting this case. We understand the significance of these charges and do not take this responsibility lightly. We will ensure that the legal process is thorough, fair, and just, and that this defendant is held accountable. As we move forward, let us all remember the life lost and the lives forever changed by this act of violence. Our commitment to justice is unwavering, and we'll do everything within our power to see that justice is served. In closing, I ask for the community's support for this family. and for the victims. And as the superintendent said, a collective effort among us all to address and prevent such future acts of senseless violence. I am confident that together we can make a difference. With that, I'll turn it over to Andre Vasquez.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. First, I wish we weren't here to have this conversation. What occurred this past week, just 2 blocks from where I live, was an attack not just on a family, but an attack on a whole community. I take some solace on the fact that what we're seeing is a department and a government working together to make sure that there is accountability. And I want to thank Superintendent Snelling, Commander Byer, all the detectives for all the amazing work, the State's Attorney's Office for making sure this was a priority. As you all have heard, there was a family and a woman and children who were hurt. The young man's name is Jaden. Jaden, in a moment, trying to get to school, right? The door opens up, and he does what anyone would do if you see your family in danger. He tries to defend his mother. He was a victim of this kind of attack. I've lost an older brother to gun violence. My heart right now is in pain for the 5-year-old who had to witness any of this. And so last night there was a vigil held at the property. What I saw out there was about 80 children, ages 10 to 14 years old, that speak to how popular young Jaden was. He was popular in the school at Pierce Elementary. He was a member of his local dance troupe.
Yep.
And so I think about not just the family, but everyone in the community that's affected. But what we did see was everyone coming together. And so although we know this is one chapter in the story and we want to see accountability and for justice to be served, there's a lot more work to be done to make sure that the family, that staff at the school, that the community all have the support systems they need, that we look as a government to see what more can be done to support victims and some survivors of domestic violence. There are the opportunities for everyone to come together and help each other out, but none of this is going to be easy. None of us are alone. And as we try to mourn together, we know that we're together as we move forward. And so anything that we need to do as a city to help empower the detectives, officers, State's Attorney's Office to make sure that no incidents like this ever occur, and anyone who ever thinks about this kind of behavior is held to account, we're going to do. It's a tough city to live in some days. I think we all know, we all look at the news, and I apologize because sometimes I might feel a little jaded and desensitized because of what we see, but this is something that we know if we don't get ahead of domestic issues everywhere, there may be other cases. And so I just want to thank everyone here for all the work that you've done, and look forward to justice being served. Thank you very much.
Facts. Should've just went back there and just got rid of him.
Thank you, Alderman. First of all, let me just mention one thing with everyone standing here. This was an effort by everyone. I'd like to thank State's Attorney Fox and the State's Attorney's Office for working quickly with our detective division to get these charges approved and to bring some justice to the family. I'd like to thank Alderman Vasquez for being here and everybody who is standing here together, because this is the important part of it. We could not have done this without everyone working together. I also have to thank those witnesses who came forward and provided information. All of those things help in these cases. When we work together as a team, we can bring some justice to some of these families who have been victimized. It is important to see us standing here together, because this is the only way we're going to get to the bottom of public safety in the city of Chicago. So I'd just like to thank everybody here for working collaboratively on getting this done. Before we take any questions, I'd like to just provide some information for resources that we can reach out for. Our Crime Victim Services Unit is available at any time to anyone who's been affected by this tragedy and needs support. They can connect you to resources. You can reach the Crime Victim Services at 312-745-6340. Again, Crime Victim Services, the number is 312-745-6340. What's more important are those who are affected by domestic violence. And our domestic hotline, the number is 877-863-6338. Again, 877-863-6338. I think this incident highlights the importance of staying on top of domestic issues. This highlights the suffering that this woman has been dealing with for years. And it couldn't have ended in a worse tragedy. Luckily, again, she's still here, but look at the trauma that she's going to have to live with for the rest of her days. We have to take a closer look at domestic violence, especially those that include repeat offenders, stalking. We have to protect these victims.
And the people that's asking for help too here.
We cannot wait until the tragedy happens to decide we're going to do something about it. That's the tail end of it. That's working backwards. We have to prevent these things from happening. With that, we'll take whatever questions you may have.
One question, please.
Okay, Courtney Sisk, NBC5 News. This might be for the chief or whoever has an answer to this question, but can you provide more insight into how he knew where she lived? Did he previously call the apartment complex to find out if she lived there, or did he at all list that address for parole?
Good question.
The address where our victim lived was not where this individual was paroled from, if that is your question. The arrest took place where the offender resides and where he is paroled from, on the 4400 block of South Cottage Grove, just a few hours after everything happened that morning. In terms of locating and knowing that she would be there at that time, at this point there is no further information that we have to provide.
Hi, this is Maria Berreyesa from Univision. I have the question is, why was he released from prison, the suspect, if he had an extensive record of violating the order of protection?
Well, what I can tell you is I don't have a good answer for that. Obviously, that would be a question for the Illinois Department of Corrections. My feeling is that he should not have been. Violated parole.
And that's why he just chuckled. I know somebody could be like, why he laugh or something like that. It's so many crazy ass people, but he chuckled because he just thinking about how unbelievable it was for him to be able to get out. Like, what the hell? And I know that they give people chances to get out of jail on parole and shit like that, because some people really do be rehabilitated and shit like that. And, you know, you want to give people second chances and stuff like that. But when they show different patterns and shit like that, or they do certain things consistently and they move certain ways and shit like that, yeah, they should stay, you know, their whole time, because they should have thought about the shit that they were doing before they got into it, you feel me? Especially being a repeat offender, you know, let's get back into it.
In order of protection, and it involved the same type of crime that he was paroled for. So this is someone who should not have been on the street.
At all.
This is Andrea Medina with WGN. Could you elaborate a little bit more on how this man got into the home, and talk a little bit more about the little boy who was trying to defend his mom?
Yeah, the meat and potatoes.
Sure, it's a point I want to reiterate that the state's attorney had said. This tragedy happened inside of the residence, which is where we would expect everyone feels safe. And what we know throughout the course of the investigation is that as she was leaving for the day to take her children to school, he did force his way into that residence, and then the brutal attack took place.
Damn, right before school.
Joni Lum from Fox 32. Can you tell us any more about the mom's condition? She was reportedly pregnant at the time of this?
At this time, the detectives had a conversation with her. I believe it was an hour, maybe 2 hours long. So it appears that considering the circumstances, she's doing okay right now. So she's speaking, and she was able to speak to the detectives.
He asked him.
Yes.
They want to know about the baby.
Christian Picos with ABC Chicago. This is a question for Ms. Fox. Ma'am, how can the public have confidence that the criminal justice system is working if known violent offenders like this are being allowed out on parole?
You know, certainly, as I said, this is a horrific and tragic case. He was found guilty of having committed a prior act back in 2015, was sentenced to a 16-year sentence, and was released on parole last year. As I say to many people, most people who go to prison are given the opportunity to be released and not serve a lifetime sentence. What I would say to those, particularly those who are enduring domestic violence, is that we have mechanisms in place like orders of protection, domestic violence court, where if people feel that they are not safe or that someone is in violation of their safety, that they can go. This is a horrific case. I don't have a word of assurance for this mother who lost her son, who will have lifelong injury, both physical and mental, related to what happened here. But I will also say that there are people who are working in our criminal justice system, police officers, prosecutors, parole and probation officers, who try every day to ensure that things like this don't happen. I think this is why it grips us so, because it is so shocking and so glaring. And so what I will say is that there should be confidence in the criminal justice system, and that we would hope that incidences like this are rare. However rare, this is horrific. And we need to do an evaluation, particularly in this case and others, to ensure that there were no gaps in the justice system that would allow for a dangerous offender to commit the acts that he did. And as you heard the superintendent say, that there are questions, and there are questions that need to be examined and truthfully answered so that we can prevent something like this from happening in the future.
I'm glad they kept it real. I'm glad she kept it real. I'm glad they all keeping it 100. I like them. They not sugarcoating, they not lying, they ain't playing no games or nothing like that. And I really love it about them, man, for real, for real. But overall, ultimately, I do feel like that it can't be something done. There's no excuses, no bullshitting that they should be doing from now on. They should go ahead and just get straight to everything as soon as it is brought up, and you know, especially if it's being reported multiple times. I feel like when shit like that happens, you should take action, like right then and there, you know. But a lot of the times, man, people, it's so many different things that prevent your privacy from being messed with, and you got to get your due process. There's so many other things that go into certain things, so that's why a lot of things can't happen. But I feel like that, you know, to save people, they need to go ahead and just override some of these rules in certain cases to go ahead and assure safety as much as possible, because knowing that even though the person who did harm you is off the streets and shit like that, just to think about this shit every day, like all that trauma and stuff like that, is very, very, like, traumatizing. But yeah, like I say, you know, in most cases when it's a situation like this, people do keep on getting out of jail, and they keep on getting chances after chances after chances, and they don't need to do that shit. They need to go ahead and cancel all them chances and lock them up and keep them locked up. Anyway, in the hell, they should be out having opportunities to come out and shit like that, especially once they get out and show you signs of them being a crazy fucker, you know. But hey, let's get back into it.
Of their safety, that they can go. This is a case. I don't have a word of assurance for this mother who lost her son, who will have lifelong injury, both physical and mental, related to what happened here. But I will also say that there are people who are working in our criminal justice system, police officers, prosecutors, parole and probation officers, who try every day to ensure that things like this don't happen. I think this is why it grips us so, because it is so shocking and so glaring. And so what I will say is that there should be confidence in the criminal justice system, and that we would hope that incidences like this are rare. However rare, this is horrific. And we need to do an evaluation, particularly in this case and others, to ensure that there were no gaps in the justice system that will allow for a dangerous offender to commit the acts that he did. And as you heard the superintendent say, that there are questions, and there are questions that need to be examined and truthfully answered, so that we can prevent something like this from happening in the future.
Sophie Sherry with the Sun-Times. I'm not sure who this question is for, but are you indicating in the charges that this woman had an active order of protection against this individual? And if that is the case, then why wasn't he charged with a violation of an order of protection when she reported to police that he came to the home and was sending threatening text messages?
The charges are going to reflect an issuance of a warrant, and what that charges for is the violation of parole, and the terms of that parole within it is the violation of the order of protection.
Okay, so there was an active order of protection.
Correct.
Okay.
Brandon Eisen with WBBM News Radio. This question is for S.A. Fox, if possible. And this might seem redundant, but seems like the emergency order of protection was denied. But even with an order in place, sometimes these violent incidents still do happen. Do you have any advice or suggestions if the courts and police are unable to protect the vulnerable in immediate response? Is there a hotline to call, advocates that you can suggest that will provide temporary wraparound services, including protection?
It's not a redundant question. I should be clear. There was an order of protection that was in place, a lifetime order of protection given to this victim in this case years prior. And so it was not new. This is a defendant who was aware that there was an order of protection in place, and so that sheet of paper was not deterring him from doing what he was bent on doing. I will be honest, I'm struggling this morning. Having to do this work, and we all do this work. Imagine these officers showing up at a home and seeing an 11-year-old boy who was trying to defend his mother. The issue of domestic violence, as the superintendent said, is something that we need to focus exponentially more on. Having grown up in a home where I witnessed domestic, having understood what it looked like to run into a room and try to protect a parent, it's very difficult to say that the system itself can stop bad people from doing bad things like what happened in this home. There are resources that are available at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office through our Victim Witness Unit. There are resources available at the Domestic Violence Courthouse at 555 West Harrison. There are a number of domestic organizations who are working in the city of Chicago and Cook County throughout all of our communities, and we can make that information available as well. But I want us to be mindful of the fact that this was a person who was determined to do what he did. And we have to make sure that we have resources available for survivors to be able to have a place to go if they're trying to leave a domestic situation. That we have to have resources available for the children to support them, not only for this young boy who lost his life, or as the superintendent mentioned, a 5-year-old who bore witness to his brother in the attempted mother. And so victim services, not just for, the direct victims of domestic, for their families and those who support them. And so it's not a redundant question. I think we should ask the question every day. What are the resources available for people enduring domestic and gender-based violence? And have that information available. We will make that information available through our office. As you said, as you heard, the commendable work by the Chicago Police Department of having victim services available in the immediate aftermath to provide not just for that family, but for the community. As Alderman Vasquez mentioned, their children. I had a text message from a friend of mine whose daughter knew Jaden. And that child, who wasn't in that home, is also going to be suffering for a really long time. And so it's not redundant. We should continue to ask the question, but I think we have to remind you that we are responders to violence. We need to make sure that we have prevention strategies in place and resources for survivors to ensure that we're doing everything that we can to get them out of situations before they have such dire consequences.
Tara Molina, CBS Chicago. I don't want to call this redundant. At this point, this is really a clarification request. We keep hearing about this order of protection. Ms. Fox, we just heard about this as a lifelong order of protection. We're not finding any record of a temporary or a TPO in place on this. And then as far as the emergency order goes that was denied by the judge, and that wouldn't really make sense if there's a lifelong order in place. It's our understanding that police did not provide her with a breaking and entering report that would have helped with that emergency order. So there are a number of concerns we're hearing from those close to this woman. Can you please clarify and address?
We're going to have a first detention hearing, if it hasn't started by now, at 11:30, where the issues related to the orders of protection will be addressed. There was a lifetime order of protection entered for this woman prior to this man going into prison previously. And so a lifetime order of protection is just that, over the course of her life. And so intervening order of protections do not supersede the lifetime order of protection. And this defendant was fully aware that there was an order of protection against this victim.
Question for the soup. What are your thoughts on just the extent to which electronic monitoring is used, and do you think it's an effective technology?
Well, it depends. It depends on the crime. I'm completely, and this is my personal opinion, when we have violent offenders, I just don't believe in the electronic monitoring. When we give them the opportunity to go out and offend again, this is problematic. There are crimes that are nonviolent, and nonviolent offenders, first-time offenders. Electronic monitoring, fine. But when we're talking about someone who engages in just vicious acts of violence, gun violence, repeat offenders, those people should be held. And they should be held because if we know that they've offended before, we can have an idea that they more than likely will offend again. So we need to make sure that we have control measures in place to protect victims. State's Attorney Fox just said it best. Prevention. When we talk about bringing justice to a family, that means that the crime has already been committed. It means they've already been victimized. And what we want to do is prevent these things if we can. So whatever measures we can put in place to prevent it, I think that's what we should be doing, especially when it comes to crime.
If I may, just really quickly on this issue of electronic monitoring, particularly with domestic cases. As I indicated, there are some people who are going to be released. What we want is a system that does not, if they're not going to be held, a mechanism by which we're able to track them. So typically in domestic violence cases, if an electronic monitoring is ordered, it is also ordered with GPS. And the GPS signaling is incredibly important so that if there's an indication that the alleged offender is in proximity of our victims, we need to be able to know that. And so while I recognize the superintendent's concerns about electronic monitoring not being appropriate for everyone, and I certainly would agree with that, we also want to make sure that in instances of domestic violence cases that when that technology is utilized, it's utilized with GPS so that we're better able to track situations in which a potential survivor may be victimized again.
Was there GPS in this case?
I'm sorry?
I'm going to link the story. I'm of the understanding that he had an electronic monitor, but that one has a GPS on it.
In this case, and again, there'll be a further reading of the proffer at the first detention hearing, he had been on parole. He'd been released from parole the day prior to this instance and was at this point required to be on a monitor. I believe he had the monitor at the time that this incident happened, but he'd been paroled about 24 hours earlier before this happened.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now that y'all seen it, man, you know, I want to know your thoughts and opinions on the whole situation. This is a very, very sad and unfortunate situation. RIP to him. I want to send my condolences out to the mother, the father, and everybody who had a genuine love that was connected to him and things like that. But overall, I didn't say what I had to say. It's just a sad and unfortunate situation. Be safe, be careful, keep your weapon, and don't be afraid to use your weapon if you need to. I'm not promoting violence, but I am definitely promoting, you know, safety and assurance. So, yeah. But overall, man, I said what I had to say. I will holler at y'all later on another video, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all who made it to the end of this video. And, yeah, I'm going to holler at y'all later on another video. And if you made it to the end of the video, comment this. I'm going to holler at you in the comment sections. At least one of y'all for sure. All right.